Yesterday, President Obama emerged from vacation to declare our mission in Iraq to rescue Yazidis a success.
The bottom line is that the situation on the mountain has greatly improved. Because of these efforts, we do not expect there to be an additional operation to evacuate people off the mountain, and it's unlikely that we're going to need to continue humanitarian airdrops on the mountain.
But the country's Yazidi minority and Kurdish officials warn that many refugees remain trapped and help is very much still needed to battle ISIS. Retired four-star General Jack King says the U.S. desperately needs to figure out a strategy against this growing terror network. Take a listen.
ISIS has freedom of movement and has the initiative. They're attacking right now as we speak in over 6 different locations inside Iraq, also attacking in Syria and also attacking in Lebanon. This is an organization that is hugely ambitious, has competent leadership, and is very determined. The fact of the matter is they're destabilizing the Middle East. We really desperately need a strategy.
And this just in from Iraq officials. They say ISIS has just now massacred 80 Yazidis in a northern Iraqi town. So those were the people that we were going in to try to help. But I think, Andrea, one of the concerns I had when the president came out yesterday was that it felt very premature. And, you know, look, learn from previous mistakes. Don't declare victory yet, especially if the next day 80 Yazidis are killed by ISIS. Does the president, I guess, does he even care that it looks like they are behind the 8 ball?
Well, first I would say 80 is a pretty good number for a JV squad.
Right.
Of terrorists, as Bob likes to point out. It's shocking that President Obama wouldn't, as you point out, learn from the mistakes of past administrations, because he and his staff were very vocal about criticizing your former boss for using the words mission accomplished. To me, Dana, this sounded yesterday like a mission accomplished.
And it wasn't, that's like it's even apples to oranges.
Yeah,
but yes,
but spike, right, sort of spike the football and say, okay, our job here is done. However, he's made comments about terrorism before, Al-Qaeda being decimated, when we know that that's not the truth either. If defeating or obliterating ISIS is the goal, which he doesn't seem to be making that point that that is the goal, we're far from that. It seems like he's just allowing an evacuation route for Yazidis. If the goal is to get rid of, is to save Christians or to save the Yazidis, I think this administration is a little too late. There have been major ethnic cleansing in any region that ISIS controls that have Christians, in Iraq and in Syria. This administration is way too late to the game. So my question would be, what is the mission? What are we doing? Is it obliterating ISIS? Is it saving the Yazidis? Is it both? Because what we're doing here, it doesn't seem to be, I don't think, helping either of those two goals.
I talked to some geopolitical experts today who said that what their biggest concern is that not only is ISIS a very brutal organization, but they're operationally very good. I mean, Eric, this is not the Keystone Cops of suicide bombers. These are people that we actually should consider a very worthy adversary.
Not only that, even take that and add in the fact that they stole $1.2 billion, a lot of it in gold, from an Iraqi bank. And this one, they're stealing oil from Iraqi oil fields, Iraqi oil pipelines, and selling it. They're raising $3 million a day. ABC, I believe, is reporting $3 million a day going into that group. If you know anything about these terrorist groups, you're more likely to get more people joining up from you when you're paying them well. You're outfitting them well. You're giving them guns. You're giving them cell phones. This group, like as Andrea points out, ain't the JV, and they're only going to get stronger unless you cut off the funding. I mean, that's first and foremost, protect those oil fields.
Greg, you have some history living in Britain, and they still talk about the former British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, who claimed that after he met with Hitler, everything's going to be fine, there's going to be peace, and that turned out to be very wrong.
Well, President Obama said recently he believes in no victor, no vanquished. If you tell that to ISIS, they might keep you alive just for comic relief. On foreign policy, Obama is like a showerhead in a cheap hotel, very, very weak. And you do not have the luxury of deciding when America can sit out in a quarter of a game of good versus evil, because evil never sits out. There's no such thing as half measures. Our military never loses if you give them the option of winning. If they have a mission and they're told the mission, they will go in there and they will do it and they will relish it. But you just can't, through drops, it never works.
Interestingly, yesterday, Bob, a few congressional members were asking to be brought back from recess so that they could vote on something you and I were talking about in the green room. Do you think the president is going to, at some point, going to have to go to Congress and say, I need to reverse course here and I need your authorization to do so?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I would certainly hope not. But I'd like to give in fairness to the president here. He was talking about the people who were refugees on the mountain, even the NGOs, the government, non-government organizations say that the pressure's been released on these people and they are out of the mountains. What he's talking about, ISIS, what they did today in that town is horrible, but when you have a gutless Iraqi military who's not there, you could be a JV and go in and kill 80 people when you got no military there. I still come back to my question. Where's the gutless Iraqi military that we trained so well?
It doesn't matter, Dana. I think this is foreign policy designed to manage a news cycle. This is why there's no strategy, because the only thing President Obama wants to avoid is the headline that says ISIS slaughters women and children, thousands of Yazidis died. That's all. That's all he wants to do. He knee-jerks to manage the news cycle.
Wait a minute. There was a strategy in 2 administrations, including Obama's, that said we're going to train the Iraqi army and we're going to put them out there to take care of themselves, and they're gutlessly running with our equipment, leaving it behind. And so don't tell me this is all Obama's fault. The fact is the Iraqis, we put our money on Malaki. He's a crook. He's a bum. He finally got out. And look at these soldiers.
You don't think that President Obama had anything to do with Malaki's re-election in 2010?
I think no. You guys said it was a fair and open election.
No, Bob, you're just making my point.
But where did Malaki come from? When was he put in?
Malaki won an election, and then he won a re-election in 2010.
Where did he come from? Where was he originally introduced into Iraq?
This is like the weirdest academic exercise that we're having this week.
Why?
Why? Because does anything you're saying actually matter? The fact that the Iraqi army, I can agree with you, the Iraqi army is not up to par. Okay, fine, but now you have all of these ISIS terrorists that are overrunning the country.
Wait a minute. You keep saying there's no strategy. The strategy was to make these guys a strong army. There's supposedly 100,000 of them. If they can't take these guys on, they're gutless. Gutless, and the strategy of your administration and my administration failed.
Okay, so then we have to do something about it.
That's right. Get rid of Malaki and people like that who was put in there before Obama was elected.
Listen, and re-elected in 2010.
Deep breath.
Facebook Friday, next on the Fox.
At Kia's